Good evening and welcome to the Independence Soiree. I am your host, Anya Lachelle, and I am so excited to be here with you this evening. You may recognize me from a little show called Philly Live on NBC 10, which airs weekdays at 11:45 a.m. and showcases the food, the fashion, wellness, technology, and even safe travel destinations that help make our Philadelphia region so great. And my work on Philly Live, along with my hometown pride as a native Philadelphian, makes tonight's calls a really personal one for me. So tonight is a spectacular event that benefits the operations of two organizations dedicated to providing world-class welcome for all visitors who travel from around the world to visit our beloved Philadelphia and explore the sites where our nation was founded. That's right, I am talking about the Independence Historical Trust and the Independence Visitor Center Corporation. Like so many businesses, these organizations are facing many challenges and financial hardships due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they have partnered on this evening's virtual fundraising event where all proceeds benefit their continued operations and welcoming visitors for not just right now, but generations to come. So now let's hear more about the work of one of those organizations, the Independence Historical Trust.
Independence Historical Trust is the philanthropic partner of Independence National Historical Park. Our mission is to work with the National Park Service to support preservation and conservation projects, enhance education and public engagement, and protect the national treasures of the park for future generations. You may have seen some of the projects that we have supported: the acquisition of Charles Wilson Peel's portrait and restoration of William Penn's portrait, both displayed in the Second National Bank building. We have an Adopt an Artifact program to ensure preservation of objects large and small that the National Park Service has identified. We are now engaged in our largest project to date, restoring and opening to the public the First Bank of the United States. This $30 million project will create thought-provoking exhibits on the economy of our newly created country.
My name is Karen Kaufman, and I'm the treasurer for Independence Historical Trust. We are standing right now in the First Bank of the United States, and our most ambitious project so far is to restore the First Bank. There's no air conditioning in this building. There's no bathrooms in this building. We need floors, we need carpet. The outside has to be restored. The building's almost 1 block long. Look at this beautiful rotunda. This will be a museum. One of the reasons I got involved was because I live in the area. And it is a jewel to live within the national park system. So I want to do what I can. I want to do my civic duty to improve it.
The Independence Historical Trust is a nonprofit, and like others, we rely on the generosity of supporters. Please become a friend and support Independence National Historical Park.
The best park in history.
Thank you, Karen. It was so wonderful to hear about the great work the Independence Historical Trust is doing to preserve so many significant historical sites, not just for now, but for future generations. And now, let's hear a bit more about the other organization that will benefit from tonight's sponsors, the Independence Visitor Center Corporation.
Hi everyone, I'm Jim Corrado, the President and CEO of the Independence Visitor Center Corporation, and I want to welcome you to this very special evening. We are very excited to be partnering with the Independence Historical Trust on this virtual fundraising event that will help to continue the operations of both organizations. Our mission is to serve all of the visitors that come to Philadelphia, and for many people, we are their first impression of the city, and we take that responsibility very seriously. As the official visitor center for the greater Philadelphia region, we welcome over 2.5 million people each year. They come from around the world to explore the sites where our nation was founded and be inspired by walking the most historic square mile in the country. We provide a warm, world-class welcome free amenities, multilingual visitor services, and access to all that the City of Philadelphia has to offer. We recently reopened the Visitor Center and we're welcoming visitors back in a safe manner. Social distancing and all other safety protocols are in place, and already we are seeing visitors starting to enjoy everything that Philadelphia has to offer again. On behalf of my board of directors and my dedicated staff, I thank you for any contribution that you can make to our cause. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Jim. It is amazing to see how many visitors travel from around the world to see these historic sites. But can you believe it was just a little more than 100 years ago when many of the nation's founding principles, like the right to vote, were not granted to all citizens? In fact, 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which prohibits the states and the federal government from denying the right to vote to citizens of the United States on the basis of sex. And as you can see tonight, I am wearing my suffragist white in tribute to the tireless women who fought for the right to vote. But as we were recently reminded with the passing of pioneer and relentless advocate for gender equality and civil rights, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the 19th Amendment did not mean the fight for women's suffrage was won. In fact, as you'll learn in this next piece, the passing of the 19th Amendment was just the beginning of a new era in the fight for equality.
Well, you know, it took the suffragists 72 years of never giving up to finally get the 19th Amendment passed. That's 3 generations of women.
3 full generations of women, sometimes the same family, that cause being passed down. And so many women who are featured in this exhibit and never lived to see the amendment passed. Yet they keep getting back up after a failure and they keep fighting for the right to vote.
And so the reason that we're so excited about the 100-year anniversary is that it just showed what tenacity is.
Behind me is a photo of the White House and women picketing in front of that White House in 1917. So these are Philadelphia suffragists, the Pennsylvania suffragists, who started the Silent Sentinel campaign, which was a campaign of women who went down and silently picketed the White House every day for months. This was an attempt to get President Wilson and folks in DC to pay attention to what was happening in trying to get women the right to vote. Luckily, a lot of the photos are really good from that time because they wanted the publicity for this. So getting these good high-res photographs was part of their campaigning, which was great for them in the 19-teens, but it's also really great for us that we can have these really amazing images. Alice Paul knows that these visuals are really what is going to make a difference. So when these women end up in prison and then they end up out of prison, they have their workhouse gowns or their prison gowns that they take with them, and they wear those on tour to give this really heightened visual to people who see them, but also any press to get that message across. They even know that since it's going to be in black and white, they wear white so that they stand out when they're being photographed.
Definitely share the story of the Justice Bell that's part of the 1915 campaign in Pennsylvania. It has a great Philadelphia tie.
The Justice Bell, or the Women's Liberty Bell, was the creation of a woman named Catherine Ruschenberger, and she is a Chester County suffragist.
This is a symbol used by the suffragists throughout the movement because they're always trying to connect their cause to that of the American Revolution and fight oppression.
This is an attempt to convince the male voters of Pennsylvania that they should vote for suffrage. So they need to be convinced. So they have the Justice Bell and they put it on the back of a truck, and it travels through all 67 counties of Pennsylvania. Suffragists, they help drive the truck, they maintain the truck, they're on the back of the truck giving these speeches. There's parades with it, and it's a really big event everywhere this bell goes. And it's also saying, like, look, these women are knowledgeable, they know what they want, they are able to stand up in front of crowds of strangers and speak eloquently and persuasively about this.
When we're traditionally taught the story of the women's suffrage movement, we're very much looking at the white mainstream movement. And that pretends as though the movement moved in one direction over the course of 70 years, and they knew exactly where they were going and how to achieve a national amendment. That is not true, and that really collapses a lot of the complexities, particularly around race, that follows through the entire movement.
African American women after the 19th Amendment still faced poll taxes and threats of lynching and literacy exams. Folks who immigrated from Asian nations faced not even being allowed to be citizens.
By telling the full narrative, you include those voices of women of color who are fighting alongside or creating their own groups starting in the 1890s. Their story is paralleling that of the white stream suffrage movement, but they are excluded for nearly the entire fight. And they knew that they would be left out. But that didn't stop women of color from joining that fight and pushing for suffrage. But by 1920, they are excluded. And while there's millions of women who were able to vote under the 19th Amendment, it's just as important to remember that part of the population that was not able to actually do that in practice.
And even the suffragists who are huge, like Alice Paul helped, is a major factor in getting to the 19th Amendment. As soon as it's ratified, she says, we're not done. I'm gonna write the Equal Rights Amendment.
We're still trying to figure out, like, should we pass it? We're nearing the 100th anniversary of that being first proposed in Congress.
It's that idea that, all right, we got the right to vote, but we still need rights to access. We need the right to participate. We need a way to have equal education, equal pursuits in our jobs.
And I think a lot of people don't know that it was 1974 before single women were able to get credit cards.
Issues like Title IX, issues like equal pay for equal work, these aren't new. These aren't new ideas. Some of them are written in the Declaration of Sentiments in 1848.
So we have been fighting this fight for a long time, and we're not over it yet. Right now, more women than men vote. However, in Pennsylvania, only 50% of the eligible women voted in the last election. So we're making progress, but not good enough. Hopefully one of the great legacies that this 100th anniversary will leave will be an inspiration for everyone, men and women, to go out and vote. Vote this year and vote every year.
Wow, talk about inspiring. I really hope that you all are enjoying and learning and connecting with the history that is being shared this evening. And now we will recognize another woman who spent her life fighting for equal rights and equality for all. That's right, I am talking about sports icon, the one, the only, Billie Jean King, has been a champion on and off the court, a pioneer who created new inroads for all genders in sports and in life. And I was so honored to be able to interview her about her lifetime contributions. But first, we are pleased to present Miss Billie Jean King with the 2020 Year of the Woman Award. And now to introduce the award is last year's guest of honor, Governor Thomas Ridge.
I was happy to be honored last year at a wonderful event in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And I'm really pleased, just as happy to be back this year, although it's virtual, to present this year's award to a truly remarkable woman. This year is a difficult year for galas and fundraising events and all manners of conventions, exhibits, performances, sporting events, and the like. We are fortunate to live in a time of Zoom and other technology that makes some of this possible. And I'll do my part here to try to adjust to this new normal to support the good people who support Independence Park. My friends at Independence Historical Trust have joined this year with Independence Visitor Center Corporation to host this event. The proceeds will help these partner organizations continue the good work of welcoming visitors, as the good folks at the Visitor Center do daily, and raising money for capital projects in Independence Park as the Independence Historical Trust does. This is important work, and I'm very pleased to be here to lend just a little support. But before I present the award to our incredible honoree, I'd like to make just a few comments about what we see going on all around us today. These are difficult times for our country. People are suffering, physically with the pandemic, economically with the shutdowns, and emotionally with so much unrest in so many of our cities. But we've been through difficult times before, and we surely will survive all of these. Now, while I question the decisions of some of our leaders, and I deplore and decry some of the rhetoric I hear, I have an abiding faith in this country and its people. In the long arc of history of this country, we have overcome bad decisions. We've survived a great civil war, and we're working at righting the colossal wrongs of centuries of slavery and racism. We survived 2 world wars, and then the civil unrest against the Vietnamese War when I was a young soldier. And we have survived and thrived. And although our international image and even domestic image could use a little burnishing about now, the United States remains and is still the symbol of liberty and freedom around the world. Coming to the United States is still the dream of many struggling people around the world, as well as many entrepreneurs with great ideas for new products and successful businesses. We have work to do here, but I'm confident we'll get it done. I'm certain of that. Oh yes, we'll get through this. And part of my optimism about that is the reason we are here tonight. This year we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which finally gave women the right to vote. This was an extremely important moment in the history of our country, and one that changed the course of politics and legislation and debating, and all for the better. It is right we commemorate the ratification of the 19th Amendment here in the virtual shadow of Independence Hall. I'm struck by the story of the Justice Bell. The Justice Bell, which was used as a symbol of the plight of women who could not vote. The bell was the idea of activist Catherine Wentworth Ruschenberger, who paid for the replica of the Liberty Bell to be cast for use as a symbol of the, quote, and I think it's important, completion of democracy, close quote, needed by women simply being allowed, and importantly being allowed, to vote. Interestingly enough, its clapper was tied off, symbolizing that women's voices could not be heard. The Justice Bell was carried around Pennsylvania and throughout the country in support of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. And when the amendment was ratified, the Justice Bell was brought back to Philadelphia, and it was rung for the first time on this date, September 25th, 1920, 100 years ago today. The bell remained in the backyard of Catherine until 1943, when she donated it to Washington Memorial Chapel in Valley Forge National Park, where it sat in a wire cage for 50 years. In the 1990s, it was installed in a more honored place in the Carillon Rotunda in Valley Forge National Park, where it still sits today. I understand that Catherine's niece is one of the event committee members for this event, Alexandra Wentworth Tatnall, which is a great connection to the wonderful history of Pennsylvania and the United States of America. But of course, that didn't mean that women were automatically treated equally in all aspects of our society. That took more time. And many would argue, and on one of them, it's still going on. Nearly 50 years after the ratification of the 19th Amendment, Billie Jean King came on the scene fighting for equality for women. You know, Billie Jean King is perhaps the greatest tennis player of all time. And notice, I didn't say female tennis player. Billie Jean King was a fierce competitor and a perfectionist as a tennis professional. She won 39 Grand Slam singles, doubles, and mixed doubles titles, and including, and don't forget, a record 20 championships at Wimbledon. But where Billie Jean really made a difference in the world is off the tennis court, where she has worked all her life and tirelessly for equal rights and opportunities for all people. And of course, she founded the Women's Tennis Association and the Women's Sports Foundation. She co-founded World Team Tennis, and today she's the owner of the Philadelphia Freedoms team in that league. She's also a minority owner in the Los Angeles Dodgers and the WNBA's Los Angeles Sparks basketball team. Oh, your program book has a full list of Billie Jean King's impressive awards, records, and accolades. But I'm going to remind you of a few. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her work advocating for the rights of women and the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. This is the highest civilian award given by our government. And Life magazine named her, think of this, named her one of the 100 most influential Americans of the entire 20th century, an impressive woman of our time, an American success story, and one of the reasons I can be, and we all can be, optimistic about our future. During this year of the woman, and in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, it is my distinct honor, and indeed a great pleasure, to present the Independence Historical Trust Year of the Woman Award to Billie Jean King.
All right, Billie, it is so great to be here right now. We are in the National Constitution Center's newest exhibit, the 19th Amendment, How Women Won the Vote. And it's the perfect place to be speaking to you, the recipient of the 2020 Year of the Woman Award. And what a year this has been, Billie Jean King. I mean, how do you feel receiving such a prestigious honor, an unprecedented honor at an unprecedented time?
Well, it's just a really wonderful award. I can't thank you enough for the Year of the Woman Award. It's a privilege, and I'm humbled, and I love the fact that it's the 100th year of getting the vote, and I've got my vote mask here. You know, like everybody vote, and
fashion with a purpose right there.
Exactly. But you know, Philadelphia is a great place, and the Independence Historical Trust is so important to all of us. So I just want to thank you again, and I hope we raise a lot of money.
Yeah, well, you know, Billie, I am so excited to sit down with you again, to be reunited with you again. Remember the first time we met?
Yeah, at the Freedoms match. We're out on the court actually standing, and then you didn't know much about tennis, so we did a little lesson, and you were
a private tennis
history
lesson.
of the Freedoms, because they've been there over 20 years, and Elton John wrote our signature song, Philadelphia Freedom, which is always nice to have. And no, it's great. We're really, really pleased, and we're really happy you came out there, Anya. So finally, it was fun to meet you.
I was excited to be out there. You know, I didn't think that I would love tennis as much as I do, but then the pandemic hit, and so I didn't really get a chance to keep trying at it.
I know, but it's anyway, we're really lucky. But I hope that everyone appreciates the shoulders we stand on. People like Alice Paul and Frances Harper, and Frances Harper was African American. We didn't work together well enough, I don't think, but at least we're all trying to get the vote for women and caring And also we had to deal with race for the African Americans too. But we had so many. But Alice Paul went to University of Pennsylvania. She's from the area. I know she was born in New Jersey, but was in Philadelphia a lot. And I think her family helped start Swarthmore and all kinds of things. But there's Susan B. Anthony, Kathy Stanton, all those people that put their lives on the line. And a lot of Philadelphia suffragettes went to jail. So, and were there for 5 days, 6 days, force fed. So, we just don't realize how hard it's been to get to this point so we can vote. And so we need to know that it's a privilege. We need to protect it. And we need to make sure everybody votes. So especially this year, everyone should really step up and vote. We've had a really rough year in 2020. And that's why this award, this year, the Woman Award, means so much to me. Because it's been a difficult year, especially for the frontline workers and the essential workers and all the people that really have a really tough time. So I just want to thank all of them too, and make sure everybody votes and just know that it's important for the future.
Yeah, and I love listening to your humility when you talk about why you're so passionate about this. You mentioned how you stand on the shoulders of so many great women, but now there's so many women who are also standing on your shoulders. I mean, in addition to receiving the 2020 Year of the Woman Award, we also recently learned that the Fed Cup has just been renamed in your honor, the first major national competition to be named after a woman. How does that make you feel?
It's such a privilege and an honor, but it also, with that comes responsibility. Because Fed Cup are now the Billie Jean King Cup. It feels so weird to say it, but it's international. It's in many, many countries. We had 116 countries this year participate and compete. They did not get to play the finals in Budapest like they were hoping, but we're hoping to do it next April. So it's so fantastic. We also have a junior Billie Jean King Cup. So I'm really anxious to see how I can help develop our sport in every country throughout the world, bring more girls of color into tennis, just really do it right. So my head's popping with ideas. But when I was 13, I had my epiphany. I was out at the Los Angeles Tennis Club and I was just daydreaming, and everybody wore white shoes and white socks and white clothes. And we had white balls in those days they played with, and everybody who played was white. And I remember asking myself, where's everybody else? And that was the day that I promised myself that I would fight for equality. I'd champion equality the rest of my life. And that's why it's such a privilege today to be with you, Anya, and have this award. So I've been very, very fortunate, but we got lots of work ahead of us. And my generation, our job is to help your generation, the younger generations, but then step aside and give you the mic. And you do have the mic, so it's good.
Yes, I love it. You're sort of passing the baton, if you will. But I think a key thing that people need to understand is that this fight that you've been doing has not been easy. It's been a long road. What kept you going? How did you not give up, even when things got so tough?
Because I think all you have to do is think about the world and about others, and it's real easy. You just get fire in the belly every morning. You think about the world. You think about what you're trying to accomplish. This is the 50th anniversary of the original 9, when 9 of us signed a $1 bill back in 1970. And because we were losing out on tournaments, they were going to get rid of the women. Or if we did stay around, our ratio of prize money was going to be 8, 9, 10 to 1. And so we put our careers on the line. We're willing to give up our careers for the future generations. And what we were willing to do is we wanted any girl in the world, any girl that's born in this world would have a place to compete if she's good enough, because it's professional tennis. And number 2, to be appreciated for her accomplishments, not only her looks, because back in those days it's only about your looks. And number 3, to be able to make a living. Before that, when tennis was amateur, it was $14 a day, so you never can get ahead, and you're not getting trained in something else. So when you retire, so we have been very fortunate. We have had such growth. Serena Williams is at 92 million just in prize money on the court. And the women's tennis are the leaders in women's sports, really. We're way ahead of the others. We're trying to help everybody else. But also, if you look back, Venus Williams helped get equal prize money. We have a platform. That's what makes it so great. We have a platform. So Venus Williams helped with equal prize money. Serena obviously continues to talk about helping women, and particularly women of color. And now Naomi Osaka, who just won the US Open, has been really fighting to change, to see this change that we want. And the young people are the ones that are going to do it. But the one thing about tennis, if you go back 50 years, because we're willing to give everything up, we now have a platform. So athletes should be activists. We have an opportunity to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and you just talked about a lot of the changes that you and your generation have sort of implemented. You talk about passing the baton. You talk about being selfless with your actions. With all of that in mind, what would you say are the next steps for the future generations to keep this not only going, but going even further?
Well, what's really great is I want the young, hopefully, to bring the world with them as they go and get them caught up. But because of technology, in our day, we did not have cell phones, and that's the biggest difference. With technology and the cell phone, you can communicate quickly, but you can mobilize quickly. And the difference is, in the 60s, when there were protest marches, it was basically people of color, actually just Black people, basically. And now it's everyone. Everyone's together, and the millennials and the Gen Zs believe in diversity, they believe in each other, they believe in a better world, they believe in climate change, all the things that will make this world better. And I just would say, I just love the young people, because they are bringing the world with them because of this technology and the fact they can communicate so much better with each other. But I like the fact that everyone's together for the first time, because I was in my 20s in the 60s, and I thought it was really important that everyone step up and support each other. So in the old days, to mobilize was really, really hard. Just imagine with one phone at home trying to mobilize all those people. It's amazing they have those unbelievable marches with John Lewis and everyone's it was fantastic.
Yeah, I know you make a great point there about how technology has sort of helped stir the movement and keep it going and pushing it. But I want to talk about, with you being the tennis sports icon champion that you are, if we were to sort of look at the trajectory of women's history like a tennis match, what would you say the score is right now?
Oh, we have so far to go still. Well, I think we've won one set at least, one set, because we have our tour, we're the women's sports leaders, tennis is, but we have a long way to go for all women when you think about it. There's no league for ice hockey players in sports, there's no baseball, there's no professional proper softball league, although we had one. We do not have the opportunities. Only boys can play baseball and dream about being a professional player. So those are the things that I'd like to see shift. Ilana, my partner, and I, we are part owners of the Dodgers. I know, sorry, Phillies. And my younger brother played 12 years. My younger brother played 12 years in professional baseball. He was a relief pitcher. Most of his career was 10 years with the San Francisco Giants. He almost got traded I know the general manager of the Phillies told me Randy almost ended up in Philadelphia, which would have been fantastic, but it didn't happen. But I just love Philadelphia. I've been coming to Philly since I was 15. I appreciate our history there. I appreciate that slaves would try to get to Philadelphia to be free. That was very important to me. If you watch the Harriet Tubman movie, it was a fantastic movie, and Philadelphia played a very big role in it. So I just hope everyone appreciates our history, but we also have a lot of, we have a long way to go. We're still not, until women get equal pay for equal work, until we've been president of the United States. And I think the reason we're not is that when a woman does something, everybody thinks we lead just women. It's not true. Women lead for everyone, men lead for everyone. But when a male has always led, they always think of him as for everyone. I'll give you a perfect example. They would never go up to a male tennis player and say, thank you for what you've done for men's tennis. but they do with women. They go up and say, well, thank you, what you've done for women's tennis. Well, I fought for pro tennis. I fought for all of us, men and women. World team tennis, which is what the Philadelphia Freedoms are equal men and women on a team. So I've always fought, but everyone always goes, oh, thanks what you did for women. No, 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 no. Women help everyone. Men help everyone. And, so all genders help each other, okay? But we're always it makes our marketplace only half as big when you keep saying women only lead for women. It's not true. We lead on behalf of everyone too. And we shouldn't have been going through trying to get the vote in the first place, okay? Just think about it. We shouldn't have been having slavery, 16, 19. All these things we've had to work through, we're gonna have to continue to work through. But I think it's really important to know about history, because when young people know about history, they know more about themselves, but more importantly, the most important thing is they can shape the future because of it. And that's what you see right now with the protests. They know their past, they're not gonna take it anymore, and everyone's on the same page to try to, not everyone, but most people are trying, they see the future will be a better future for all in this together.
I could just listen to you talk all day. I mean, that was like a sermon right there. We should call you pastor.
The one thing about being older is you have perspective. That's why I used to love to be around older people all the time when I was your age, because they're so wise and they know so much and they have such perspective. They've lived a long time. They've been through a lot. And when I think about the suffragettes and getting the vote and what they must have gone through, it must have been they're always rejected. They're always being rejected. Nobody wants to be rejected. So it's important to include and to welcome and be kind and good to each other. So, and that, I don't care where you're from, what your economic situation is, it doesn't matter. We're human beings, so we've got to step up. But the vote was such a huge improvement. And then the women of color, of course, in the civil rights of the 60s, then they were able to really vote too. But it's been, our voting history for women is a long, long, arduous, difficult history. It wasn't easy. And I thank each and every one of them that came before me and that helped so much.
And hearing you talk about leadership and your passion about leadership, with all of that in mind, why don't you talk about the work that you've done with the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, which you started with your partner, Alana Kloss, because that again,
there's a whole group. Yeah, there's a whole group of us that co-founded, but we try to, we're really trying to help women's sports, but we're trying to help businesses also to have better inclusion and more diversity, equal pay for equal work. That's really important to us. That's really important. Money is very important. Women need to understand money. Men are taught, boys are taught to follow the money. Women must do the same. And money equals empowerment. You can take better care of your children. You can have shelter, food, education, all the things. So when a single mother gets less money, especially single mother of color, then that means she has less money for her family when she goes home. And so we have to fix that. We just can't have that because our children suffer. We have millions of children and people going to bed hungry every night. We can't do that. We've got to, I must say, I want to thank everyone who's with Feed America, all these people trying to make sure everybody has a meal or 2 meals a day. It's gone like just Feed America alone was like 3 billion meals. Now they're up to like 17 billion. I mean, it's amazing just to feed our population during COVID. So I really appreciate everyone who's gotten behind COVID and during COVID and tried to really make sure we're all, making it through this tough time. But leadership is important. That everyone's an influencer, and I think it's important. That we should acknowledge that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of my sheroes, has passed, and I'm still heavy. I still have a heavy heart over that, but she fought for us, fought for equality for everyone and justice and freedom for all of us. And she's going to be really missed, but we're going to keep her in our hearts and minds and every single day. And she's really an inspiration, even though she's not with us anymore. Her words and her actions will stay with me forever, and I hope for the young people, because she's an icon. I mean, she's amazing, and how she fought for all of us. And she talks about leadership. She talks about, fight for the things that you care about. But what's important, can you get people to join you? See, it's a fine line, and that's what I always worried about. Don't lose your audience. Never lose your audience. Like, how do you have a dialogue? How do you hear each other's feelings and thoughts and discussions and disagreements, and really respect each other? So it's really hard. You just keep the audience. Like even when you're playing a match in sports, you want them to be having a great time, connecting with you and sharing that experience with them. It's really important. And I think that Governor Ridge introduced me, and I want to thank him. I've had the privilege of meeting him through the years, and he's done a great job for the state of Pennsylvania. So I want to thank him as well.
Yeah, I love how you talk about knowing your audience, staying connected with your audience, because, they say all the time your legacy is only as great as the amount of people that you've been able to bring up with you as you climb the ladder. And with all of the accomplishments that you've achieved throughout your life, from the Arthur Ashe Courage Award to the Presidential Medal of Freedom to the 2020 Year of the Woman, what would you say has been the most memorable, the most monumental in your life?
The reason I've had the privilege of receiving these accolades is because I've been championed by others. I've been championed by my parents, who were not helicopter parents. My dad was a firefighter, worked hard. My mother worked hard, started working also. My younger brother and I always were very close to each other, but our parents never cared if we're any good. Also, the minister of my church, Reverend Bob Richards, 4 teachers, Mrs. Hunter in 3rd grade, Mr. Bamrick in 6th grade, and Mr. May in 9th grade, and Mrs. Johnson in 12th grade. And the people of Long Beach, even though I was never the #1 junior when I was growing up, they stood by me, they believed in me, they gave me the money to go back east, to go to Philadelphia for the first time, and then eventually to Wimbledon, which is in London. They gave me the money to be able to travel. These were the days we didn't have professional tennis, it was amateur tennis. So the local people are the ones who made a difference. So I've been always championed, and I think it's very important for all of us to champion others. But I know that's why I've had all these awards, is because people championed me, believed in me for some reason. I don't know, but they did. And being the first woman athlete to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Obama in 2009, his first year, when he had very dark hair. Now it's not so. Every president, it doesn't matter what president, they go in one way with dark hair, and by the time they end, it's great. It's a tough job.
It's like they go through a time machine.
It's unbelievable. But what I loved about President Obama is the first president who mentioned the LGBTQ plus community. And I appreciate that. That's the real reason I got it, was for that and for equality. And he didn't even mention I was the first woman athlete, which was great. And then Harvey Milk was also got the medal posthumously for the LGBTQ. But he's the first president that's ever even mentioned it out loud. So I'll never forget that moment, and how much I appreciated that, how much he champions others, and Michelle too. But I think all presidents who've done the Presidential Medal of Freedom, it's just such an honor for each and every one of us who's received it, no matter what president. But I got mine from President Obama in 2009, his first year. So that was an amazing moment. Seeing Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court, got one. It's really the other people that you're with that make such a big difference, that you see these people, you get to talk with them. They gave us about 20 minutes to talk to each other. Nobody else could be around.
Oh, wow.
Just the recipients. It was an amazing moment, just to kind of like, you wanted to.
I'd love to be a fly on that wall.
You wanted to stop the time. So I think it's very important to always champion others.
And what do you say to the little girl, to the little boy who wants to do amazing work, who wants to make a difference, make a change, but they don't feel they have that support? They don't feel like they're championed by anyone to give them that push and that drive.
It's amazing. People usually do champion children if they keep with it. You can't just do it for a day. You have to stay with it and get friends to do it with you, other school kids. But adults are really encouraged when they see children, or they're amazed. I think I'm amazed when children come up to me and say, oh, I want to be the #1 tennis player in the world, or I want to be an activist, or I want to, whatever it may be, or I want to be a lawyer, whatever. And I just try to really encourage them. And some kids I do stay in touch with, but every child needs to have those people around them. But you really, every human being really needs one person that loves them unconditionally. And if you have one person, it does not have to be a parent, it can be a grandparent, it can be anybody. But you know what? You got a chance when you have one other person that loves you unconditionally. And I just always tell the children to keep going for it. I tell them to read their history. Like I said, they can shape the future better if you understand the history. I find a lot of kids say, well, I don't want it. History's dead. And no, I said, no, it's very much alive when you read it. And also you're living history every single day of your life, every time you wake up. And so this Independence Historical Trust really helping to keep Philadelphia beautiful, and they take care of the Liberty Bell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The first time I got to Philadelphia when I was 15, that was the first thing I went and saw was a Liberty Bell in Independence Hall. Oh my God, I couldn't wait. I did all my history, I went around the city, and oh my gosh, I just couldn't wait. And well, I loved history. I've always loved history. Very few kids love it, but I find more young people do like history. But it's what you can do with it. But it's so great to see the beginning of our country. And I wish the capital had stayed in Philadelphia. We said we're going to get it back in 10 years or something. Once it went DC, we're never going to get it back. But Philadelphia has such a rich history.
I was just going to say, you know what? We may not have the capital, but we have so much more. And we have all the amazing work that you have done to help be a part of the Philadelphia history and make it so strong in what it is today. So Billie Jean King, thank you so much for sitting down with me as we not only celebrate your honor of the 2020 Year of the Woman Award, but we also celebrate the centennial of the 19th Amendment, the 50th anniversary of the original 9. So much to celebrate, even in the middle of an unprecedented year. Billie, I don't know if you've seen the 2020 Year of the Woman Award. I have it right here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is gorgeous. I'm honored to virtually present this to you.
Thank you. I'm taking it. Thank you.
You've received it? It's gorgeous. And it's quite heavy too, which is good.
Oh, that's good.
That's how you know it's legit.
Thank you, and it's great to see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hug.
Air hugs.
Hug.
Virtual hug.
Long distance hug, yeah.
I'll send you my love.
Okay, thank you.
You can look right there.
Say cheese.
Cheese.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
We will never know how many didn't get COVID-19 because we followed safeguards. We'll only know that we did all we could to save people from a dangerous pandemic, and that's a nice thing for us to live with. Together, we are beating COVID-19.
Thank you for joining us for this wonderful virtual event. Again, I'm Anya Lachelle, and it has been a pleasure being your host this evening. On behalf of the Independence Historical Trust and the Independence Visitor Center Corporation, I'd also like to thank our sponsors for their generosity. And now we will close the evening with a final message from one of our sponsors about the enduring perseverance of Philadelphia's tourism and hospitality community.
Philadelphia is a city that has something for everyone.
It's a very welcoming city.
Fun, friendly.
We have a vibrant restaurant scene.
It's extremely accessible.
The city has made so many investments in parks and bike paths.
We have culture, we have history. It's a very diverse market.
I like to think of it as America's hometown.
No matter what you're looking for, we have it in Philadelphia.
As a business traveler, I want a contact-free experience.
I want to see that people around me are wearing masks.
That the others around me are practicing social distancing.
Digital interactive exhibits that are touchless.
That I'm dealing with a professional organization that takes it seriously.
When I travel, what I want to see is that those people care as much about me as I care about them.
At the very start of the pandemic, we got together as a hotel industry and we discussed what we needed to do to make our guests feel safe in Philadelphia.
We have a list of protocols for COVID-19, which is called Rest Assured. From the time the guest enters the hotel to the time the guest departs, their path will be cleared and secured and clean.
We have a deep cleaning program where we partner with Ecolab and also the Cleveland Clinic to give us really science-grade technology based on what we need to clean and keep the property safe.
We have a cleaning schedule that requires that every hour that we are checking all frequently touched surfaces and making sure that they are sanitized. All our team members are also required to wear masks at all times.
The Amtrak mobile app allows for a contact-free experience throughout the customer journey, from the time a customer books his or her ticket to the time they board their train and show the conductor their ticket. We've also hired onboard crews in the Northeast Corridor, which clean your train while en route to your destination.
When you come to Philadelphia International Airport, we want you to feel safe. We have implemented a number of protocols, increased cleanings, hand sanitizer all over the airport. You'll see more plexiglass barriers that we've installed throughout your experience to make sure that you can stay safe.
We take social distancing very, very seriously. In all our restaurants, we have marked where 6-foot distance is for our tables.
At the visitor center, you'll see the floor decals throughout the building. In addition, in our theater, you'll notice identifiers as far as where you'll be permitted to sit, still distancing in a proper way.
Philadelphia is known for great boxing history. We had some of the all-time best. Joe Frazier, Bernard Hopkins. These were men who fought adversity inside and outside the ring. But one thing about both of those men is that they were unstoppable. Just like that, Philadelphia, it's in our DNA, and we are unstoppable.
Philadelphia.
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 Philadelphia is unstoppable.
Working together as one,
Philadelphia is unstoppable.
Thank you.